Hello and welcome to What's in the News with Basetsana Pora, the show where we get to tell news stories that are shocking and would want to make you answer or rather question yourself, how did this happen? And today is no different. We are not, however, going to be giving you news stories of what has happened during the week. However, we are having a special broadcast in regards to an unfortunate event that took place. Well, a death of a loved one is always painful, always. And even more painful so if that loved one's last memory is not the one that you expected. Well, the Ngubane family had a loved one who had passed. They took him to a funeral home, and when the loved one came home for his last burial rites, they found that the body had a stench, it smelt, it was decomposed, and it was not what they would want to remember their loved one as. We do have with us in studio the family members of those loved ones, as well as the organization that is behind trying to help this organization in order to find answers to questions. We have tried to communicate with the Funeral Parlour Services, which is Dikwena Funeral Services, and unfortunately we were unable to reach anyone for a right to reply. However, our doors are still open for them to come and respond to the allegations that are put forward to them. Well, again, thank you so much, Lebogang Ngobeni, for coming through. Thank you so much also to the organization. It's very unfortunate. I'm trying so hard to keep it together. How did this happen? How did this happen, Lebogang? Can we first start by speaking of Ntate Oba? Who was he? What kind of a man was he? The family that he has, who's left behind to remember him?
Ntate Oba Ngobeni ke malume ko nna.
Yes.
And then ke motloholo. So ke motho e le hore o didimetse thata. And then nasna taba le hore yena o lwa le mang a lwe le mang. Maphela a itshehela. So nto nkutlwisitseng botlhoko gore Dikwena na illa mathomo e re bolokela mabophelo khala re patela. The next thing ne ke sana hana gore re tla receive ntho re receive ka tsatsi la poloko, which is we had mistakes tse dintsi tse le gore ba dirile from Dikwena to the point le gore ha ba motlisa furu ka Sunday here moloka ba motlisa mo ile gore a ba motlisa ka kolo e le gore e maleba. Ba motlisa ka vene e le gore o khona bona gore vene ke a ile gore e laisha di khurunte point of correction, and then ba tsamaya ba se emele gore ba re a se stop sala se fitlile and then se buleng. So which is inkutlwisitse botlhoko thata to the point le gore na I think re na ba sa tsebe gore ka motlhoboga because re tsara re motlhoboga a buta ka witsara ha thoma a mmula a mmona a re motho o bodile and then o tswa le dibuko. So azangra believe ntho re boneng, which is
I mean, I know that you were the one person Omutotsing when he had just passed away, and compared to what he came back home as, what was the vast difference? Halimokria atlokofetse nasina letoko busfatlhong ne le motho fela o ituletseng.
Ne le motho le hore o didimetse, and then I think na le lehulo la feleletsa le tswa ka dinko le ba le mo matlong la omella. Because I think that thing hore I play le ka mo matsheng a Sonntag, and then him he chomia in pizza ka boma around 7 ya fru Sonntag he ke lo mo chega the way ke mo kreileng al ka teng na le sharp to the point lo ke kono bona re le hulo le setse le omelletse because le betshile ke moya mo matsheng a
Phew. Okay, so they bring him in. It's not even, the normal undertaker car that you would expect.
Yeah.
What is the first thing that as a family you were thinking?
I get because like seners na gore like Dikwena asimoto lori aka khona go tlhokomela setšhaba mo rena. Se lori aka khona go se treat pila because ba bantši ba complain, which is never to bona heart. So now I decided to ke emelle ke khone go bontsha ba bang gore Dikwena ntho ya a hirang ha khone le hore a tle a nne fatshe le rena a boledisane le rena a khopele maitshwarelo ha tle o nna go.
I would just like to advise our viewers at home that the images of Ndate Oscar Ngubeni are really graphic and are not for sensitive viewers. We really apologize, but it is important for us to, showcase the disservice that this family has received. Well, one other organization that has put a stop and stood up and said, no, not now, not ever. You will have to answer to this family is the Forum for Service Delivery. We do have the youth president, Khotatso Ramotswa. Am I pronouncing that correct? Khotatso Ramotswa. Khotatso, when one thinks service delivery, they would initially just think government. And your organization has stepped out to say service delivery is not only for the people of South Africa by government, but even as businesses such as the funeral parlour industry. How important is it for you to stand up and speak for this family?
Remember, as an organization, we're established to represent the society in all sectors, especially on broad issues, from consumer right to all services in society. We're not only speaking about service delivery issues within municipalities, but we're also going to businesses, how are businesses treating our people.
Yes.
And not only looking at businesses of white people, we're looking also at businesses of our black brothers. How are they providing services? Because we're always seeing this there is this trend whereby you are forced to support black, but if they are not delivering, what are we saying? So we stood as an organization to say we're going to represent the society in every aspect. We would go to businesses and say, what are you doing to develop this society? Is there community social responsibility in the society that you are equally plowing back to the society? Again, what are the services? Because we have recognized that majority of our people, they do not even understand their consumer right.
Yes.
So as an organization, we decided to step in and say we're going to be the voice of the voiceless, because of our people cannot speak for themselves.
Yeah.
We said now we're going to be there, we're going to speak about, we're going to speak for our people, because of in most cases they're promised lawyers. When you go to an office that has gave you bad service, instead of them apologizing to say we're very sorry to do that, this is a token of goodwill. They strategically say we will meet in court, understanding that we are from a very poor background, underprivileged and all these things. You cannot even afford and attain. So they're using all these things to silence the society. So we stepped in and said we are going to lead this thing. We are going to be lawyers of society. If any businessman wants to take the society to court, he must start with us. We're very much ready to go to court with him, and also we're very much ready to make sure that there is no operation in our society of such businesses of arrogance.
I mean, you also had a march in regards to this. How did that go?
Well, we had a march there. We went there with communities and people who are receiving services from the Kwena. They supported us. Our march went very well. But that man, with his arrogance, he never came. He sent one of his management and one of the lady that was arrogant to the family. We requested that she cannot speak with us because of she doesn't know how to speak with people, because of she was the one that was sent by the Queen to tell the family that we have lawyers, our lawyers will deal with this case. So we asked and requested that she must be removed from these offices and she must not work in any office of that man's business, whether it's the mortuary, whether it's the security company, whether it's the gym or the driving school. She must not be seen servicing our society in any aspect. If she's seen, we have made a request that if she's seen, she must be driven out of our society. We cannot live with such people. After such a disgrace, she still have the ability to insult the family in their face. So our march went very well. with the one from the finance sector of the funeral parlour.
Yes.
They did communicate with the family, but there was still the family is still negotiating because of we gave them 7 days to say they must go and clean that house, because of, remember, they are very traditional.
Yes.
Traditional people, after such a taboo or a calamity, you need to come for a cleansing ceremony. Was speaking about the mother of the late. She's old. She's an old woman who says, no, I'm a very traditionalist woman. I'm cultural valued women. So they need to assist us to clean our yard. They need to assist us to appease our ancestors. So we're still in a process. We gave them 7 days, and the other families who came, the 15 families who came with same allegations. Apparently, as we are doing our research, because of as an organization, you do not come with a case and we already were on it. We have to make our research. On our research, we found out that this mortuary is not even services. They are not servicing their fridges. This man is also arrogant to everybody. Also, his workers are having a problem. So it's a trend. So we're saying as an organization that we would be forcefully trying to deal with this thing with the contempt that it deserves. And after 7 days, if there is no amicable solution in all these things, we are going to go back and shut all his businesses in our society. We want them not operating. Because of from our findings, we have found that the financial sector authority has also warned the society against Dikwena. Is there, if you research it, in 2019 to say he's running a parlour unlawfully, so he's not registered. So we need to get all these things.
Absolutely, and on that point, we are going to have a representative from the Funeral Industry Reformed Association who is going to be speaking on that, as we know that the funeral industry in our country is not regulated. It does not have an ombudsman where a family can go and complain to. So we're going to come back with Johan Rousseau, who's going to give us an insight as to what needs to be done when such has happened. Another question that you have is, did Dikwena even have the fridge capacity to put Undate Oscar Ngobeni inside a fridge in order to preserve his body, rather his corpse, and which led to him arriving home like this? It is absolutely a taboo, because you can imagine that even when a person has died and is found decomposed and what's or not, when they're taken to a funeral home, there are cleaning processes that corpse goes under. So Dikwena didn't even bother with any of those. Did Dikwena even bother to put Ntate Oscar in a fridge, you know? And clearly they didn't bother because they brought him in a simple van that carries vegetables. What does that mean for those vegetables? Who's going to eat those vegetables that were carried in a van that had a corpse as well? It's very unfortunate. So we will be coming back with Johan Rousseau to speak on the regulations that need to be put in place in order for society to be really given services that are worth their money. This family has paid premiums and you know, consistently so. And it was the first time that Dikwena had to, you know, perform a burial service for them. And unfortunately, it was a total disservice. So we will be coming back with that.
Make massive moves.
So from the theatre stage to the kitchen.
I'm anxiously awaiting to see Sanaya.
What else is this if not love?
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
The space race has already started. Russia had got the first object into space.
The coast is as wild today as it was when Europeans settled the continent.
Enormous beasts with enormous thirst. The teams are primed and ready.
They got the first animal into space, and they got the first person.
Time to see what the boys can do.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib?
But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother. Don't shoot. Please don't shoot. Don't shoot.
Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
I feel confident. I feel like I can take on the world.
So you're telling a story through your clothes.
Such a professional, you wouldn't even know.
Criticism is one of my biggest motivations.
Darling, you want to be a model?
Like, oh my God.
I'm glistening.
The fashion industry needs people with beautiful faces. I would pay thousands of dollars for that love.
Make massive moves with Starside.
I want you to eat healthy food because it's delicious.
Make massive moves.
Would you like another one?
I love it.
I love this too. This is amazing. The grits are so creamy. Oh.
I take pride in my grits.
So flavorful.
I think that looks wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so incredible.
Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
Wow! Let's go. Come on, we can be back by morning.
Looky!
Who are you?
I'm the boss.
Really?
Really?
Yeah!
Awesome.
Totally! Very funny.
Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
You're the best fighter in China.
Give me the Emperor's sword, and I'll spare your life.
Shisha sector's gone too far.
Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
How can you say that?
That is what it is.
Your mother eloped with someone else.
I just think this is such a genius idea. I think it's amazing.
I can be happy.
It's inside you. It's inside of all of us.
It's about cooking smart that are nutritious and delicious.
President Trump acknowledging the coronavirus death toll could be significantly higher.
You don't want to do this.
There is nothing you can take.
Jerusalem.
Surviving roommates scared.
The heavyweights arrive.
Inside finds Pachulia, blocked by Jane.
This is the will of God.
Make massive moves with Starside.
Welcome back to What's in the News with Basetsana Pora, and I am still in the studio with Forum for Service Delivery Youth President as well as Lebogang Gobeni, and we are now joined in by Johan Rousseau, who is a FIRA President and representative. If one thing we know is that the funeral industry is unregulated and does not have an ombudsman, and FIRA has always stood up to say this is what needs to happen, and when government is not able to take care of such businesses, then such businesses will not be able to take care of its people. Johan, thank you so much for joining us. But before I come to you, I just wanted to go to Lebogang for the last time. Lebogang, we heard that Mama wa Oscar is very old at this particular point. I can imagine, how is she holding up? And lastly, what would you like to happen for your family?
Yeah, mama yana ko moholo thata ko moholo, and then which is onya ke lo tshwara le ke stroke has it's out of this thing cause yana zanganya ka lo motloboga because of re tsara re molella ra re ho so ka ngwana, and then o tswa diboko e ba re go kopa hore nna ke ska dumela cause a kenya go bona tse ke di boneng. So nna ne ke rata hore di kwena e ka e be le botho man, ho be le botho, go be le kutlwisisano, e kopela maitshwarelo, because each and every time here ntse re ya go yena re nya go bolela yena o tlo re botsa the way le hore yena o busy, yena ka se khone kopana le rena, yena o busy ka
Bigger businesses.
Yeah, got the businesses. And then so like get to put out busy got the businesses. The business stay lo hore di mo itse ko.
Yeah.
Ke ka tšhelete ya rena yona e le hore nantse a inyatsa. Na sa tswana lo a re nyatse go fitla mo. Nna sa ne ke se rata gore a ka tla fitla buisana le rena a khopela tshwarelo.
Yeah. Yeah, apologies. Really, this family really deserves all the apologies from Dikwena. Johan, here is Forum for Service Delivery saying such should not be happening in the communities. I mean, from FIRA, just the gist of the story, and I know that there's more, even in Limpopo, of such instances. What needs to be done? How does this happen? Why is this really happening, and what do we need to do all together as a country in order to avoid such, so that people have a lasting, dignified memory of their loved ones?
Ositsana, good morning to you and to your listeners, and especially to this bereaved family.
Yes.
And the Forum for Service Delivery. I think what they are doing currently is absolutely excellent. It's essential. It's needed. This is not an isolated incident. It needs to be addressed. We need to ask government. We proposed regulation and effective control measures within the funeral industry already in 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
It has been neglected and delayed, not by government, but by the funeral industry itself. Because they oppose that. Government, through ourselves and the National Consumer Commission, had put a draft ombudsman in place to address matters as such. What we've just experienced is a tragedy. And unfortunately, once again, it was opposed by associations claiming that there wasn't sufficient consultation, which is absolutely nonsense, because all the associations is not even known in South Africa. But be that as it may, whether there was sufficient consultation or not, it was published in the Government Gazette for people to give their submissions, and that's where organizations such as the service delivery grouping that we see here is essential, because they are addressing issues that's happening within communities. And it's not only within townships, it's also happening within suburbs and within white communities. And I think we need to work closer with organizations such as the Forum for Service Delivery. We may just add is that we spoke to all political parties and all political leaders. And the only organization that is within the last 2-3 weeks, month, said that they will assist us from a political perspective is the newly established United Independent Movement, which was founded by Neil de Beer. And we need to get these issues into Parliament, because it's never happened. We've submitted petitions as far back as 1999 to the late President Mandela. Then it went over to President Zuma. And it even, it didn't went to President Zuma, it went to Ramaphosa, which was the deputy president, which hasn't addressed that at the time. And it also went to President Mbeki. So what we are saying here, we need the political will to affect the change, because the funeral industry's voice needs to be heard in Parliament. And organizations like ourselves, which now has to address funeral regulations, which is not our mandate. We have to address the consumers' issues, which is not our mandate. And we seek partnerships with people like the Organization for Service Delivery and the UIM to address these matters, because it affects 60 million people on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
It's not a matter that it's been, it's not an isolated, but it's a tragedy what happened to this family. Because from a regulatory point of view, let's ask ourselves, how often is these funeral parlours inspected? If he's not compliant, how do we get him compliant? We also know on a previous occasion, we also reported on Dikwena about the financial services component, which there was issues. Their staff also complained. And once again, we need to place this in front of organizations and associations that disapproved, our proposals to government, and we need to highlight who is the members behind these associations.
Absolutely.
Because every time we just mention the associations, but we never mention the funeral, the funeral parlours, and we're just asking in this process, who is representing, which association or funeral association is representing the Quena, because they also need to take responsibility because they haven't done that.
Absolutely, Johan. I mean, we have 4 minutes left to wrap this up, and it just shows that we absolutely need so much more time in order to address such instances. In about 2 minutes, Johan, or less, can you tell us and the viewers at home the proper, I'm losing the word, the proper structures that a funeral home should take when collecting a body up to the point where they give back the body to the family for burial? The most standard practices.
Yes, I believe where a person has passed away, irrespective whether it's removed from a residence, hospital, or a government mortuary, the deceased needs to be taken from there, especially with the COVID, be wrapped up in a body bag or whatever the case may be, because that's now law. Secondly, tests to be done whether the deceased is COVID positive or not, which we also questioning why that is being done. But then for the deceased to be taken to a mortuary, of which the refrigerator needs to run between 2 and 3 degrees Celsius. For the deceased to be booked into a register and then preserved for a period of time until the dressing of the deceased, because we know that's a cultural requirement from a traditional point of view. And then from there to be prepared, dressed, and then placed into a coffin where it's been taken to the home. In this particular case, the deceased would be taken and left not in the room where it stayed, but on the outside because of the cause of death, which was unnatural. But as we looked at the footage of the deceased, which we've just shown, is the deceased is definitely decomposed.
Yeah, it's decomposed.
Remember that decomposition also causes a smell, which attracts rats. And if you look at the face of the deceased, you can see the nose is full of cartilage, and that was eaten away. It's definitely rats that also got into that mortuary, and there's certain aspects to keep rodents away from a funeral parlor as well. And that is issues that we need to address in your bylaws, which is not happening. And it's not only because there's no guidelines, there's no proper training, but left that aside, how do we accommodate the family? In this matter, and I can tell that to the Forum for Service Delivery, that FIRA will avail its legal team to assist the family free of charge.
Absolutely.
We've got an internal legal team. We will have, and I'm going to ask the forum that we meet as soon as possible. Because it's not only this matter that needs to be addressed, but many other matters. And as they are representing the communities on the ground, we've also got the chairman or president of a union that's engaging us about funeral industry staff that's also affected. And we need to address this. And I want to, from FIRA's side and from the UIM side and from legitimate funeral parlour side, convey our sincerest condolences to the Ngubeni family. This needs to stop. And we need to hold government accountable for the neglect of service delivery, inspecting these funeral parlours and putting systems and measures in place that would not affect the funeral industry, because the funeral industry has now been tarnished, including a family and families that's been affected. We also had similar cases in the northern province last week, and I've just seen
Johan, my friend, we are out of time. Just like I've mentioned, that it seems like we really need more time than we do have. So we will continue with this conversation. This is something that really puts one's heart in a lighter place to find that there are organizations such as FIRA who are willing to work with organizations such as F4SD in order to bring some comfort to families and to the nation as a whole. So thank you so much, and condolences to your family, to the Ngombadin family, and thank you to you, Forum for Service Delivery. From myself, Basetsana Pora, we will continue this conversation. It is not the end, and we will get those answers. For now, it is goodbye and see you next week.